Join us now in Michigan alum and current Carolina Panther, our good friend Chris Wormley. Find him on Twitter at Chris_Wormley43. Big Worm, my man, how are you? How's life? How are things, partner?
Life is good. It's finally getting a little chilly down here in Carolina, so it's feeling like true fall down here. And the Wolverines have, their second biggest rival of the year coming up, and it's exciting.
All right, what is kind of getting chilly there? Because we've had some real dysfunctional weather. I mean, we've dipped into like the mid-40s last week. I'm standing outside. I'm braving the elements for my team, Chris. I'm out there just grinding it out.
I mean, right now it's 68, which isn't too chilly, but this morning it was in the 40s, mid to upper 40s when I woke up and got out of the house. I was wearing shorts. I was like, wrong decision, but here we are, and it's pushing 70, so.
All right, so you're getting the same kind of swings that we are, right? I mean, we're hitting the low to mid 60s. It was a miserable weather. We'll get to the Indiana and Michigan game, and of course, Michigan State, Michigan. But, however, I saw something float across the interweb where the NFL might be looking into taking the Super Bowl international. As a participant of this league, I have my thoughts and feelings as a fan, media member, as a consumer of the league. As a participant of the league, what do you make of that?
I hate the idea. Football is the most popular sport in America, and I think the Super Bowl should be played in America. I mean, you're not going to have the Premier League championship over in LA. You're not going to have whatever other international league there is, or you're not going to have. I mean, I guess F1 has come over here, but it's only for a few races, not for the final race of the year, the end all be all. And I think I played in London my rookie year back in 2017, and it was. Minus, going international and all that stuff, it wasn't a fun trip. You didn't really get to do a whole lot. The time change kind of messed you up pretty bad. And, it was a bunch of random fans that weren't really cheering for you. They were cheering just to be at the game, which isn't a bad thing. But the Super Bowl, I think, should be played on U.S. soil with fans who watch for the 17 weeks. They get to come to the game. So if that ever happened, I think it would be it'd be a shame.
I'd be ready to mutiny because I'm in the same path. And as someone who's worked a lot of those international Champions Cup is what they were calling it. I don't know what it's called now, but it's basically where they would bring Real Madrid played Manchester United at the Big House for the largest international the largest soccer crowd on U.S. soil and the largest international whatever the hell it was. I worked the game. I announced it. Wayne Rooney played for maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes maybe, and Ronaldo played for maybe the final 12 to 15 minutes. It's not what they advertise it to be, and it's an exhibition for them, so I can kind of understand that. And that's what perturbs me about our international series, whether they're in Frankfurt or, and they're in London, wherever the hell they're at, Munich. It's hey, we're taking regular season games over there, straining our players on the travel. Like you said, it's not a tourist visit. This is a business trip. You guys got a job to do, and we, the fans here, lose a home game that season, or for whomever is hosting that game. That bothers me when the other leagues won't do the same for us. And I think you hit the nail right on the head there, because I don't know what this fascination is with Europe. That people are like, well, we'd get an earlier start time. Just move the game up to 5 o'clock. What are we doing? 5 o'clock Eastern. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, I think obviously you want to expand the game and you want to kind of take the game international, but at what cost? And I think a regular season game isn't too bad, but anytime you talk postseason, especially the Super Bowl, you want your athletes firing on all cylinders. I know we get 2 weeks off if you make it to the Super Bowl in between the conference championship games and the Super Bowl, but let's keep it on U.S. soil. It's hard enough if you're a West Coast team having to go to, play in New York or play in Miami or vice versa. So I'd like to see it stay here.
See, Chris Wormley, smart man. That's why we have him on the show, folks. He's intelligent. You listen to him, you get smarter about football and geopolitical football landscapes, and that's why we're here. All right, the second-ranked Michigan Wolverines, 52-7 was the final score. Thank God for those extra 3 quarters. I mean, that first quarter, I get it. I mean, it's miserable out there. I'm cold. I'm wet. In my mind, I'm complaining, but I look over at Coach Harbaugh, and I'm like, I got to suck it up, and I got to perform. I got to give it my all, Chris. That's what I'm telling myself I'm just saturated. And they go the entire first quarter. They punt twice on their first 2 possessions. I was surprised at the amount that they tried to throw the football against Indiana, considering the conditions that we were in. My thought was, here's 100 carries for 800 yards, same score, 52-7. Everybody goes home happy. It was shocking to me how they started and how they, I guess, schemed for this game or planned for this game in those first two series.
I don't know if they maybe thought that it wasn't going to be as wet. You know, the rain was coming down pretty hard really throughout the whole game. So maybe they thought that they would be able to get away with, you know, their game plan of throwing it. But obviously they rattled off 52 unanswered points after that kind of, I guess you would call it a trick play that kind of got the defense. But they really kind of sat down and buckled down and got into the rhythm, and the offense looked great. Those next three quarters, and the defense looked great. I thought really the whole entire game.
It has been a stellar performance once again for J.J. McCarthy, 14 of 17, 222, and 3 touchdowns. Head coach Jim Harbaugh said that J.J. McCarthy could really be the standard for what the Michigan quarterback is moving forward. I wanted to get your thoughts on that comment.
Yeah, I think as long as Jim is there, and that's the type of quarterback he's looking for. He's looking for someone that is smart, which JJ thinks he is, or I think he is. He seems like a really humble kid. Seems like a great teammate. He seems like someone that can really, bring the team together and can lead that team. But also just the way he throws the football. I've seen him throw. I think I've seen 2 games with him now, and it's just the way that he can release that ball is crazy. And I'm not a quarterback coach or offensive type analyst mind, but I just know I see somebody that has that type of talent. And also he's athletic. And that's what we kind of saw with Jim, 10, 15 years ago when he had Kaepernick and when he had Luck at Stanford. Those are the, 2 smart quarterbacks, 2 athletic quarterbacks that can get the job done. And I think he found his quarterback in JJ. And that's who he should be recruiting, I think, going forward, is someone that can kind of do a little bit of both. But, JJ is, I think, as advertised, and we're seeing that more and more each week.
What makes it so difficult about trying to defend the tight end position? Because, in Detroit, we have Sam Laporta, who's just going crazy. And then in Ann Arbor, there's Colston Loveland, who had 3 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. And one of them was a broken play in which JJ scrambling to his right and just pointing down the field like, hey, could you please run over there? I got to get rid of this football. They're in hot pursuit, chucks it up, and Colston, sees the ball, adjusts to it on the move, grabs it, runs it in. It's a broken play that works out really well, and I love the communication. I love the way the whole thing was set up. But it just seems like that tight end position continues to evolve. From a defensive perspective, what makes that so challenging?
I mean, you see it every week with a guy like Travis Kelce, right? Like, he's bigger and stronger than every safety and DB that tries to cover him. But he's also faster and more athletic than a lot of linebackers in the league. So really, if you have to, you'd have to mold or combine a safety and a linebacker, or a DB and a linebacker to kind of get that perfect matchup that he's been able to exploit. A guy like Darren Waller as well with the Giants. They're just, Kelce maybe isn't a physical freak, but he just knows how to play that tight end position, but is also more athletic than most linebackers that are asked to cover him, but then also bigger and more physical than the DB. So when you have that type of matchup, it poses a lot of problems for defenses. It's hard to stay in one defense. It's hard to have one guy, circle a guy and say, hey, you have to cover him the whole entire game. And offenses know that. And when you have a coach, like Dan Campbell, who was a tight end in the NFL, I think that he has a soft spot for tight ends, and I think he has been able to exploit that, even with a rookie like Laporta has. He's been playing well. He played well against us 2 weeks ago, and that kid's only getting better.
And from a defensive line standpoint, how do you guys go about, let's say you guys play the Chiefs this upcoming week, right? And so you're looking at, or even to the collegiate level, if you had to try to defend Colston Loveland, what's kind of the game plan? Is that something that's talked about from a defensive line perspective? Like, hey, I mean, if this guy's on your side of the ball, you got to put some hands on him.
Yeah, if he's in line and next to the tackle with his hand on the ground, one, you hope they run the ball, because it's a lot easier to try and shed a tackle and beat the block of a tight end than it is for a bigger offensive lineman like a tackle or a guard. But also, if he's going out for a pass from an inline position, you want to get hands on him. You want to disrupt the timing of the quarterback. You want to disrupt the timing of that tight end getting out into his route to do some time to disrupt the route. So the quarterback is expecting the tight end to be at a certain spot, at a certain, step and drop. And it's all about timing for a lot of these route concepts. And if you can, as a defensive lineman, disrupt that even just for a quarter of a second, that gives, a slower linebacker time to get where he needs to be. And it gives a DB who might have been pushed around a little bit by a bigger, more physical tight end to get back in position to make a play.
This upcoming week, the Michigan Wolverines will take on the Michigan State Spartans. It is a rivalry game, in-state bragging rights. And we all know the best players in Michigan go to Michigan, so everybody can put that in their pipe and smoke it. But Michigan State this year, it is a trophy game, right? Paul Bunyan is on the line. The Spartans have struggled mightily. I mean, expectation was relatively low. A lot of people had pegged them to be, close to a 500 team, maybe 7-5 by the time it was all said and done. Then the Mel Tucker saga takes place. He gets removed, and it has just been a disaster. And even games where they're playing pretty well, they've been shooting themselves in the foot with some coaching errors, some turnovers. They've had some blunders on special teams. Like, it's an absolute disaster for the 2-4 Spartans right now, who are 0-3 in Big Ten conference play. So my question to you is, as a team that is 7-0, it's a rivalry game. You know the team you're playing is an absolute mess. You know that, the helmet gate or tunnel gate or whatever you want to call it last year with that little spat that they had, and, they widened up the tunnel because of it and added some more security there just in case anybody's feeling froggy post-game, in case you don't want to fight for the 60 minutes on the field. I guess you could take it to the tunnel or the locker room. Let me just get my sneak disses in there, as the kids say. If you're Michigan going into this game, how in the hell, I mean, you're going to be up for it because it's Michigan State, right? But at the same time, it's like, how do you ignore that 2-4 record?
Yeah, I mean, I think with rivalry games, like, you kind of throw the records out. If Michigan State somehow pulls off this win, I think they're going to consider their season a success. The events that happened last year in the tunnel are going to, I think, be a big motivator for this Michigan team. Even if Blake Corum is kind of downplaying it, I saw his press conference, I think it was yesterday, and he kind of downplayed the situation and how they're approaching it. But Michigan has a lot of pride. Michigan wants to keep the Paul Bunyan Trophy where it's at. And especially going into East Lansing, it's always fun to get a win there. But on the other side, Michigan State has a lot to play for. They're trying to get their first Big Ten win. I think D'Antonio is back there in some type of capacity, a coaching role. So he had a lot of success beating Michigan, especially towards the end of his career at Michigan State. And I know that he's going to have a thing or two to say to the team to get them pumped up as a little motivation. But I'm expecting a good game. But I'm also expecting Michigan to continue to dominate like they have all season and continue chugging along. I think it's week 8 now in the college football world. So they're looking for another win, and they're looking for another signature rivalry win.
It's a road game. It's under the lights. It's on NBC at 7:30, and it is for Paul Bunyan. If you win this game, do you get anything like as a player? Is there any sort of like commemorative, like miniature Paul Bunyan, like the miniature brown jug? Do you guys get anything for winning this game?
Yeah, we got a miniature Paul Bunyan. I have mine in stores downstairs in my house, and it's always fun. But it's a lot more fun when you win the game. You get to take a picture with the actual trophy, and it stays in Ann Arbor, and you get to walk by it every so often and know that you kept the trophy where it belongs. So it's gonna be a good game. I'm excited to watch it. It's a night game, and as the season goes on, the weight of each game gets a little heavier and heavier. And especially against Michigan State. What more could you ask for? Night game is going to be fun.
Should be a lot of fun. Hopefully everybody's well behaved out there in the crowd. There was a lot of chatter when this game was announced to be a night game that Michigan fans shouldn't travel and hide the women and children. I'm like, relax. It's a football game, for God's sakes. Let the guys out there figure it out on the scoreboard. You people just sit there on your hands and clap for your team and hand out orange slices and pray that everybody has a good time, right? That's the way that that's the way that I look at it. How heavy is the Paul Bunyan Trophy?
Oh, it's pretty heavy. I mean, obviously, it sits on a base that I don't know if I've ever actually picked up the base, but that trophy's, good, solid, I'd say like 30, 40 pounds. So you got to get your curls in before you lift it up and get warmed up, and, make sure you smile for the picture. It's going to be a fun game, and you got to keep Paul at home.
Yeah, I mean, curls get the girls. You heard the man. See, that once again, great piece of advice here from Big Worm. You do curls, right? And then you get those biceps going, get those beach muscles. They can be functional muscles as well. So I'll give you a little credit for that. This Michigan team, you being the defensive guy, defensively, only allowing 233 yards a game. But it just feels like even that number's inflated because a team just breaks one big play, one explosive play, and that's really all they get all game long. This defense really looks like they're firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, I'm excited to see them limit that one or two big plays that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. And I'm also excited to see them play a complete game. And I'm talking about the starters being in there for all four quarters to see how those numbers actually look like. They're 230 yards, but after a quarter and a half left of the game to go, they have the backups in, and they're playing really well too. So this defense is looking great. They have some great leadership, great star players, but also some great role players that are continuing to step up and continuing to improve each week, and that's what you want to see. Because like we keep talking about each week in and week out, that the schedule's not getting any easier. And after this game against Michigan State, 3 out of the 4 games are going to be the toughest of the season. So I know they're up for the challenge. I know the defense is going to continue to get better, but to limit those explosive plays, I think is going to be big.
It's time for the meat and the potatoes of the schedule. He's Chris Wormley, D lineman. They got to eat a lot of meat and potatoes. Find him on Twitter at Chris_Wormley43. Big Worm, my friend, as always. Appreciate the time, partner. Thank you so much. And we look forward to talking to you next week with hopefully Paul Bunyan secured.
Absolutely. Go Lou.
Love spending some time with Big Worm. Love talking about tight ends. God bless him.